And welcome to a snowy Friday. Hopefully, the rest of April break is a little bit nicer than this morning. So I'm quickly just going to go over the aspects of the Dendrochronology Lab to make sure that you feel confident with finishing this today or at some point over break. Now, dendrochronology, as we talked about yesterday, is just the study of aging trees. And each ring, which includes early and old wood in a year, really tells us something about that meristemic tissue, the tissue that's alive during that year. And that tissue is going to respond to water, temperature, nutrients. It's going to contain specific isotopic ratios. And it's also going to be able to show us things like insect infestations, forest fires, ice storms, and other natural disasters. And we can use this information to date back hundreds, if not thousands of years by cross-referencing different trees with the identical patterns, sort of like finding overlap between current, older, and oldest trees. And when it comes to actually looking at the tree rings, we can see a lot of information based on the shape, the size, the symmetry, in specific distinct patterns, maybe a forest fire scar or a series of years of drought. So your Dendrochronology Lab has about 4 parts. The first part, which you completed in class yesterday, was filling out your age and your widths. And different people did different aspects of width. Maybe you did one width measurement that was averaged, maybe you had multiple columns. You should be able to make a graph that looks something like this. And you can always do things like finding the differences by subtracting maybe year 2 from year 1. So if we look at this data point, 0.35 minus 0.5 gives us a change in negative 0.15. If you need any help with any of the data analysis, let me know. Share your Google Sheet with me. Tell me what you need, and I can help you with that. Now, after you finish your initial data and your graphs, you're going to go into the Schoology folder, and where it says Introductory Materials, you're going to be able to use any of these resources to answer these 3 questions. What evidence can be gathered from dendrochronology? What types of variation can be seen within tree rings? And there is a challenge question about the limitations and defining principles of using dendrochronology. Each of these should be a short paragraph that is specific, concise, and really might cite specific data or evidence or resources from your websites. Don't just tell me you count tree rings. Tell me a little bit more in depth about what we will be able to tell when we look at this data. After you finish these 3 questions, you should feel pretty confident to go back into our data sheet and do what does this mean. And you don't need to do a what does this mean for each year. For example, if I see 3 years where I see the tree ring shrinking, that might be good evidence to just say tree likely experienced a drought or suboptimal environmental conditions, maybe less light or something to that nature. Likewise, if I see a year where there's a big increase, I might say something differently. You're going to put your data table finished here, or graphs as well. You might put some images of your trees here as well. And then you're going to go into the analysis questions. So the first is going to be simply just citing evidence from your data table to tell me variations in the environment that it experienced. Really think about citing years, widths, and analysis to explain your answers. You also might want to talk about periods of consistent environmental conditions. How do you know the tree experienced a few years where things were pretty much the same? You're going to explain your procedure for collecting data from the tree. So how did you measure the dependent variable tree ring size? You should cite evidence from your table to explain how and why your procedure allowed you to accurately and precisely collect data. So where did you collect the data? How much data did you collect? How did you average it? How did you randomize it or make it free from bias? And then finally, you're going to go into the second folder in Schoology, which is called Dendrochronology Applications. And you're going to read one of these articles and summarize it here to discuss how dendrochronology can really be used as accessory, secondary, complementary, additional information to help us explain something that we find out about the past. So for example, in this article, people use dendrochronology to really help reconstruct glacial movements and glacial retreats. So we used dendrochronology, like we use isotopes, to understand other events sort of by thinking about what does the isotopes or the tree rings mean for what likely happened. And you should be all set. So when it comes to grading this assessment, I'm really going to be looking at your data collection. I'm going to be looking at data analysis. Were you able to cite any information? And what do your answers contain? The target for this is a P, so I'm really looking for you to be able to cite data to either identify patterns, make supported scientific claims, or design a solution. I think the claims and the patterns are more important for this right side of the questions. Please let me know when you're finished. When you are finished, you will submit this assignment. You don't need to add anything to the Google Doc. And have a great break. Enjoy the last week of not thinking about school, not worrying about a thing. Enjoy your time. Do what makes you happy. And I look forward to seeing you back when we come to school in a week. See you later. Enjoy your Friday.